Showtime at the Apollo dope, and she paint the perfect picture, telling stories up in all the jokes. You don't really want the drama, bro, cause Mabel cool, Mayday nice, Mayday want all the smoke. Mayday, mayhem, Mayday, mayhem, Mayday, mayhem, Mayday, mayhem, Mayday, mayhem, Mayday, mayhem, Mayday, mayhem.
This is strictly a review. Please do not take any and all commentary seriously. This is just a review of a show. Thank you, and Mayday Mayhem. And we are back with another episode of American Gods, Season 3, Episode 2. And we left off the last episode with Shadow had a gun to his back, but all said and done, it was just the property manager. She lets him in, and he gets in and he goes to sleep. As he goes to sleep, he dreams he's with his mother, and he sees a magazine of an African goddess talking to him. So he drifts off, and as he's in his dream, he also sees this white bull with red flaming eyes running towards him. And he just ends his sleep. But it picks up to Belquist. Now, we haven't heard from her in a while. Last time we saw her, she was speaking with Media. And Media was a little bit pissed because he is ready to call in the favor for her to fight with the New World gods, which is social media and all the high-tech things that we use. And she said no, she will not fight. And the last time she touched him and made him feel what it felt like to be in a war. So in this little series of events, we see Belquist with a man, and he's like a tech person, so to say. And he's supposedly helping her with tech. Now, as we all know, anyone who has sex with Belquist, she absorbs their body and their soul. She is the goddess of sex and divinity of love and lust and very sensual. And he tries to come on to her, and she's telling him like, no, you know, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. So he pretty much tempts the temptress, and she fell for it. And she told him, okay, you want to see what I am? I'm going to show you what I am. So she starts doing what she do, and she absorbed him. As she absorbs him, he didn't turn to goo as everyone else usually would turn to goo. After she absorbed him, Belquist immediately started getting sick and throwing up and into like a sweaty fever. So they end that scene with her. Then it also speaks about this place that Shadow was in, and it goes back to Wisconsin of 1960, and where this little lakeside place kind of came from. And it goes back to the slaughter of the Indian people by the Nordic people. And the Indian gods, the Indian people were calling on their Indian gods. And, you know, the Indian gods was coming in, but, you know, the Nordic people had slaughtered their survivors, their worshippers so bad that it wasn't many people to worship them. So at the end of their chief asking for their Indian god to come forward, they killed him, and it was a storm finna come in. So the Nordic gods sees a child and they sacrifice her. And their Nordic gods, they called in to help clear up the storm, which is where this all started in 1690. Who child? Y'all know. So it goes on and on and on and on until, it talks about the Nordic roots, so to say, where it comes from. As it talks about the Nordic roots, they do a little cutscene into, as we see Wednesday on some bullshit, him with another Nordic god, which is another like tooth fairy type god, where he takes teeth and that's what he does. So also Wednesday steals a card with an address on it, and the tooth fairy does realize that tooth fairy type god. But prior to all that, Shadow, he goes looking around the town, and he walks into town and he gets a ride and he gets shown all around the town. And, he gets shown around town and he gets a coat. Now, when he goes into the store to get a coat, he sees a young lady. And this is the same young lady that he saw prior to him getting into town. As he sees the young lady, it's a little snicker, it's a little young girl. And it's no biggie. He buys a coat, have a little conversation, and they see that and they have this little conversation, this little bet that they have going on. And it's a little clunker bet. As they have the bet, Shadow sees the little numbers and dates and time, and he has to bet a date and time that an automobile is going to fall inside of the lake, date and time. And that's what he betted. He betted March 23rd between 7 and 8 p.m. And he bought a ticket and he left the store because he's on his way to Chicago for Zora's farewell, her respects, because she was killed by Mr. World last season. So he received the invitation from Zora's people, and he's on his way to her pretty much repast. Now, as he's on the way to the repast, he has to get a car from none other than the property manager. As he gets a car from her, she tells him, bring it back how you got it. So he leaves. As he leaves, he's driving. He ends up, of all things, having an accident. An actual deer hits his windshield, and he has to deal with that on his way to Chicago for Zora's repast. But prior to that, Salam goes to Cairo to see the scribe to look for the jinn. As we all know, Salam is pretty much the jinn's boyfriend. Let's all say it. And he's looking for him. And Wednesday has sent the jinn somewhere. So Salam, of course, goes to Cairo to see the scribe and asks him, has he seen the jinn? So the scribe and Salam are also on their way to Chicago to see does Wednesday know where the gin is, because Salam is looking for him. So that happens. As they get back to Zora's repast, and I have to say, I love Chernobog. He has the most kindest words and the most sincere words to describe Zora and anyone else he encounters. And these is his words as to when he saw Wednesday walk through the door. He called Zora a cold-hearted, sexy bitch, and he would not know why she would want Wednesday. Now that's some words of endearment, people. But anyway, him and Wednesday have their little tug of war. They have their little war dance and fight. And they all agree, of course, that they're going to fight for law and order against the New World. And they're ready to go. While they're doing that, Shadow goes outside with, of course, one of Zora's people. Now, in the beginning, she gave him a coin, which it was like the moon. She took it from the moon and gave it to him. This time she told him to bring the coin. It was on the postcard to bring the coin. He brings the coin. He gives it back to her. She tells him to follow his heart and just look to both sides. She takes the coin and takes it back as though it's the moon. And they pretty much embellish and look at the moon. They go back. Salam runs up on Wednesday. And he's pissed. And he pretty much, well, not pretty much, he tells Shadow that he should have just let Mad Sweetney, the leprechaun, kill Wednesday. So that ends that, and Shadow goes back to Chicago. As Shadow gets back to Lakeside, he's treated differently. Now, at first, when he was shown around Lakeside, everyone was so friendly and happy. He went into Mabel's diner, got him a pasty, and he was all yum, yum, delicious. Now, when he gets back, everyone's looking at him weird, and he doesn't understand why. He walks into the diner. He asks, Mabel for a pasty, and she just walks away, and everyone looks at him. The sheriff notices that, of course, the property manager, which is also the newspaper, she works for the newspaper, Chronicle, notices him and notices the sheriff and shows him that the car windshield has been replaced. Now, prior, Shadow was in an accident. A deer hit his windshield, so he got it replaced in Chicago, on his way to Chicago. And the police asked him questions. Now, Shadow, not knowing what's going on, he gets to the police station and he asks him well, what's going on? Come to find out, Allison is missing. Now, Allison is the little young girl that was in the shop and that was also on the bus when he first arrived at Lakeside. She is missing. She's been missing for about 2 days, and they're just questioning everyone, and they had to question him because, of course, he was new to the town. He left and he came back and she's missing. So they were just questioning him, and everything, pretty much checked out, and they let him on his way. Now, when he got home, of course, the property manager let him know that she had got off to a bad start with him. But he had went in there and it was cold in his house. Thermostat wasn't on. The property manager pretty much had shut it off because no one was in the apartment for so long. But he was out there looking for wood. And when he was out there looking for wood, he saw a peacock. So it was kind of weird for him. And as he went back in the house and he was talking to the property manager, he told her, well, I had the people save a little emblem from the windshield. I made sure they saved it because, it may have been special. And she took the emblem and left because, she said that the emblem belonged to her son, but she never inquired more on her son. So that's more to come. So they left and part ways. As the scene ended, Shadow laid down, but as he laid down, he saw a big bird fly over Lakeside, a shadow of a big bird. So we have to see for episode 3 what will happen in American Gods. Thank you. Please like, click, and subscribe.